This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Welcome, have a seat, or if you prefer standing, that's fine too. Either way, we just want you to be comfortable for the next 30 minutes. Enough of the chit-chat though. Mr. B, kick things off if you will.
I can do that. Coming up, they're back talking about those highly coveted Vidalia onions, and although somewhat small in size, the quality and flavor is said to be superb. Also on the program, the increase in numbers is staggering. Why the International Trade Commission is investigating the increase of vegetable imports from Mexico and what it means for producers here in Georgia if something isn't done about it in a timely manner. Plus, Ray sits down with a South Georgia farmer and veteran whose military career saw him reach incredible heights and milestones as a member of the Blue Angels. These stories and so much more start right now on the Farm Monitor.
Well, few agricultural products are more distinctly Georgia than the Vidalia onion, as it must be grown in one of 13 counties to be marketed as such. One of those counties, Tattnall County, where growers are now packing and shipping their products in order to satisfy a consumer base that is at an all-time high. Damon Jones reports from Vidalia.
The long wait is finally over as the world-famous Vidalia onion is now on the shelves at your local grocery store. And the packing date came at a good time for growers as the weather to begin their harvest has been ideal.
We are very excited. You know, it's a process that starts all the way back into August of last year in September, and then the transplanting in November, December, and just a long process. Good to see the sun shining, good to see the harvest started.
This year's crop looks great, and we've got great harvest weather right now, and it really lends itself to a good quality crop.
However, that wasn't always the case during growing season, as cold, wet conditions did have a slight effect on the size of some of the onions.
Yeah, I think just a combination of factors, just the amount of rain we had from the time we transplanted the onions until now. We've just had a lot of rain in January and February, and just cooler weather. I think we averaged 4 or 5 degrees cooler than we did last year, maybe from December through early March, and so I think the cooler temperatures didn't allow those tops to grow, and so some of the bulbs are not sizing as much as they could have or as much as they've done in the past.
On the bright side, none of the quality was sacrificed. In fact, growers are thrilled about the early returns from this year's crop.
It's been an unusual year. Been a lot of rain, cooler weather, but you know, it's given us a good clean crop this year. One of the blessings we've got in this year's crop is it's clean and good quality. Got a little bit variability in size this year, but overall we're very pleased.
The crop matured a little bit later this year, but when it came time to harvest, you know, the sun came out and it dried up, and it's just been really good for the crop, and it really helps the quality of the crop.
While the size might be a little smaller, the same cannot be said for its demand. With more and more consumers shopping at local grocery stores and cooking from home, this vegetable has become a staple of many pantries.
You know, ever since this past year, demand at grocery stores has been up. The produce department's been doing well. Sweet onions has been driving the overall onion category, and Vidalia onions are obviously among the most popular sweet onions in the world. So demand has been good. I mean, we're just getting started, just coming out of the gate. But from what we can see now, demand is strong.
That means 2020 Grower of the Year John Schumann and his farm will be at full speed over the next few months, providing the community with a local product that the entire nation has really embraced.
You know, a lot of pride goes into it, I can tell you. We are very proud and very blessed to have the Vidalia onion in Southeast Georgia, in Tattnall County, where we are. It's an economic engine for this county, and you know, we travel all over the country selling and knocking on doors and promoting the Vidalia onion, and we just don't meet very many people that don't know about the Vidalia onion, and that's a very unique story.
Reporting from Tattnall County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Across the Southeast, specialty crop growers are holding their breath as the International Trade Commission has finally launched an investigation into the imports of cucumbers and squash from Mexico. It's an issue that's been building for more than a decade, and as John Holcomb reports, it's one that if something doesn't get done sooner rather than later, Southeastern grown cucumbers and squash will be a thing of the past.
Spring has sprung, which means vegetable growers are working on growing their 2021 crops. But just like the past few years, growers, especially those that grow cucumbers and squash, are weary of what's to come due to Mexican cucumbers and squash flooding U.S. markets. According to a Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services report, imported cucumbers rose from 647 million pounds in 2000 to 1.5 billion pounds in 2020. Squash imports also rose exponentially during that same time frame, from 384 million pounds to 951 million pounds. It's because of that reason the ITC has begun its Section 332 investigation of Mexican imports of cucumbers and squash to determine if something gets done to address the issue.
We will hope to demonstrate to the ITC that anytime we have a surge in imports, that's an increase in supply, and there's going to be a resulting decrease in price and decrease in demand, despite a growing demand from U.S. consumers for fresh fruits and vegetables. The problem we see it is we have imports coming into the country now at a level and at a price that are often below our American producers' cost of production, at least our Southeast growers' cost of production, and it's not a sustainable model going forward.
One Georgia grower that knows that firsthand is Brian Robinson, who's been farming for 25 years and has seen the issue unfold before his eyes.
Their labor rate is approximately 10% of Georgia's labor rate, which labor being the number one highest input cost in vegetable production, squash production, cucumber production. So therefore they're at an extreme advantage to Georgia and southeastern growers because of that fact. And what happens is when they start exporting squash into the market, they're able to export them at a much lower price than what we can even grow them for. Sometimes the price will be lower than we can even harvest a crop for. And when they drive that market down, we can hardly survive. I mean, a lot of times it's where we have to walk away from a field just simply because we cannot afford to harvest it.
In the end, all they want is a level playing field. And the way that things currently are, they're having to compete uphill.
Only thing we need is a fair chance at a good market. If we're flooded with imports from other countries, exports from other countries, then it's not fair for us to try to compete with them when they have the upper hand. And it's hard for us to continue to stay in business faced with this type of production.
However, this is just the beginning of the process, and will be a while before anything is done, if anything is done.
This investigation will actually be ongoing throughout this season and will actually wrap up in December. And we're hopeful that we get a favorable determination from the commission that this is a case that they need to take a further look at. We could have a political solution. They could recommend further investigations that could lead to tariffs or some sort of duty. But our main goal in this particular investigation is we need to convince them that there is a problem.
Reporting in Moultrie for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
When we come back, his name forever etched in the rich history of the Blue Angels flying team. The story of Georgia's own Donny Cochran and why he decided to return home to the farm. Exactly 30 miles north of the Florida-Georgia line sits the quiet, picturesque town of Pelham, Georgia. Population, just over 3,500. It was here, in and around the farm fields of Mitchell County, where young Donny Cochran would often look to the heavens and dream of one day flying like an angel. As fate would have it, Donny not only got to fly like an angel, he became one. Not that kind of an angel, this kind.
Invariably, during the course of every 3 or 4 weeks, we would have aircraft overfly the farm. I believe we were in an area of a military low-level training route because there were always Navy, Air Force, Marine airplanes that flew the farm. They were all jets, very few props except crop dusters. And I was out working, and I was inspired every time those jets would swoop by. They were going 300 or 400 miles an hour or knots, and they overflew very low, and that inspired me. And I said to myself when I was working that, would I really want to be down here, or do I want to give a shot at flying one of those airplanes one day?
And so, in 1985, Donny Cochran broke both the sound barrier as well as the color barrier by becoming the first African American to join the Navy's elite and legendary flying team, the Blue Angels. Nearly a decade later, 1994, Donny would once again make history, this time as the first African American commander of the Blue Angels. And just think about that for a minute. His trailblazing crusade, if you will. It all started on his father's okra farm.
I wanted to be a part of a very special organization like the Blue Angels, but the journey to get there is the real story. You had to fly off the ship day and night and earn the skills and reputation necessary to compete for a position on the team. And once I was successful in acquiring the required skills, then I looked at that as the next step of the journey that I had set for myself. I thought I was on vacation when I joined the Navy because it was like, where did the real work going to start? But it was the dedication, the teamwork, the competency of getting the job done, the collaboration with not just your family members, brothers and sisters, but others to get the job done. So it was an amazing journey, starting on the farm to actually having an opportunity to fly one of the branches of service that I wanted to fly, and in the type of aircraft that I wanted to fly, which was jet.
So as you can see, Donny Cochran has lived quite the life, the kind of life people write books about. Which brings us to this, a book Donny wrote about his own life, called Glad to Be Here, My Lessons Learned as a Blue Angels Flight Leader and Pilot. When I asked Donny what lessons farmers can learn from this book, he said it's not about what farmers can learn from me, it's about what we can learn from farmers.
All the lessons that I talk about in here are embedded in what farmers have to do every day, every farming cycle. I talk about the 5 C's of teamwork, for instance, or individual accountability or leadership or trust. All of those values are required for you as a farmer. I mean, because you cannot do it by yourself. You have to have a team, and you have to have partners. You have to have vendors that you can build relationship with and trust. And I cover the 5 C's, and they're very simple: character, competency, commitment, communications, and courage.
And courage is something Donny definitely had as a pilot, especially when you consider he made nearly 700 landings on aircraft carriers, as well as those hair-raising wingtip-to-wingtip formations as a Blue Angel. But with his military career now behind him, Donny's flying days are pretty much over. About the only thing he pilots now is the trusty old John Deere through his pecan orchard in Mitchell County, a plot of land that dates back generations. You made your way back to the farm. I know it's not full time, but you still managed to make your way back to the farm. Why come back?
Well, it's not about me right now. The farm has been in the family for well over 100 years, and so it is me trying to do a lot of the heavy lifting so that my kids or whoever follow me will have a less strenuous journey to sustain the farm. I want it to be sustainable so that it can take care of itself financially. And I want it to be built such that it is a very good-looking place. I mean, I'm very big on aesthetics and how things look, and I want it to look good.
In Mitchell County for the Farm Monitor, I'm Ray DeLessio.
Incredible journey indeed. Great job, Ray, and thanks so much. Well, we all like easy, correct? Up next, the easy and simple way to enroll in the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol.
If you're not a farmer and we start talking about dirt, that may sound a little strange to you. But the dirt on our farms is life-giving material, and it takes very careful care for it to keep it productive. And that's what our farmers do each and every year. Well, sustainability is everything to a farmer because we want our farms to live on for other generations. We try our best not to plow and turn the land over. Of course, sometimes it's a necessity. Over the last 5 years, our farmers have increased their conservation practices across the country to the tune of 34 million acres they've increased that. And so they're working really hard to make sure they protect the soil and water that has been entrusted to them during their lifetime. Sustainability is a buzzword today. But truth be known, farmers and ranchers have been working on sustainability from the beginning. People in America would be unbelievably surprised if they knew that farmers and ranchers were blazing a trail when it comes to renewable energies. 130,000 farms now employ renewable energy projects. That has to do with windmills, it has to do with solar panels and methane digesters. All the things that are good for our environment. We are making investments in our land and our farms at the same time that we're keeping everybody's pantry full of food. Our farmers and ranchers across this country not only provide food and fiber for our people of our country and the rest of the world, they also lead the way in conservation practices. We not only conserve our soils and water, we also provide unbelievable habitat for wildlife around our farms and ranches. When we talk about the job that our farmers do in conservation practices and what they do for the wildlife, they have voluntarily committed 140 million acres across America to just do that. And if you think about how big that is, it's kind of hard to get your mind around, but if you put California and New York State together, that's the equivalent of what our farmers have voluntarily dedicated to conserving and providing wildlife habitat. It's important to us to keep that up to make sure that we can pass our farms on to the next generation in better shape than we found it.
Finally this week, 2021 enrollment is now open for cotton growers to the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. What? You're already an existing member? Well, you still need to re-enroll.
Yeah, but don't sweat it. Ted Snyder, U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol board member, says enrollment or re-enrollment is simple and easy.
We view ourselves in our small community as cotton farmers, but we're not. We're a member of a supply chain of the apparel industry, which is much, much bigger. They're our customers, and we need to meet the needs of our customers, and this protocol will help us to do that. It's easy. It only takes a few steps. You would visit our website, trustuscotton.org, and you would register your operation. There's a self-assessment that you have to complete. At the end of the year, as your year goes along, you enter your practices into the field of market. And the use of the self-assessment and the use of field of market will create data and statistics that will prove to our industry members that we are actually very sustainable. We feel like that we're the most sustainable cotton grown in the world. It enables our customers to better hear our sustainability story, and we have a great story to tell. The best people to tell our story is us. We grow the crop. We live on our farms. The producers need to take control of that narrative and be proud to tell our story. That's what the Trust Protocol allows a producer to do. We've had quite a few brand and retail members sign up, including a U.S. company, the Gap, and its collection of brands, Old Navy, Gap, Banana Republic, and Athleta. And we have 200 global mills and manufacturer members, including the first 10 U.S. mills and first members in Latin America. So the brands and retailers have been involved in the development of this protocol from day one.
A lot of good information there. And hey, just a quick programming note. Next week on the show, we're talking blueberries with former Atlanta Brave Jeff Francoeur, who co-owns Major League Blueberries down in Nichols, Georgia. Great time with Jeff. Gave us a tour of the farm, talked about his operation down there, the special bond with his father-in-law, Malcolm, who also has a stake in the business. Again, one-on-one with Jeff Francoeur. That's next week. Same time, same bat channel. See what I did there, Kenny? Bat like in baseball, bat.
Yeah, I get it. Touche. Hey, before we go, a friendly reminder that for all the latest ag news regarding food, recipes, and what's happening around the state, be sure you check out our social media pages, including farm-monitor.com. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of agriculture and with us here on the show. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.